There we go. And of course, as everybody can see, we are speaking to the one and only singer for Jack Russell's Great White, Jack Russell, and former, well, not former manager. We're still a manager in spirit. The one and only Alan Niven. A good day, folks. How are you?
Great, I'm great. How are you, Alan?
Alive and breathing, which is an achievement these days, isn't it, Jack?
Yes, it definitely is. I must admit. But you're looking well.
Well, thank you. And you're looking better than the last time I saw you. Obviously, Colorado is beginning to agree with you.
Yeah, I actually like it up here. I didn't think I would. It took a while to adjust, but now that I'm
Are,
adjusted, I really start to like it.
are you no longer on a boat in South Bay?
No, no, I'm not actually. I'm living up in Golden, Colorado, which is where they make Coors. So I don't drink. So I'm glad I don't because I wouldn't drink that stuff anyway.
Oh, that's great. So that's good to know then that you're on land. How is that adjustment for you not being on a boat?
Like I said, it was difficult. I mean, at first, it took a while to come to terms with living on land, but there are its good qualities, and I'm adjusting to them rather nicely.
Well, I have to say, as a person who's always lived on land, I quite appreciate the having that. Let's get into what's going on here first on the road, and then we'll get into this album. You've been out on the road, and of course, this COVID stuff is sort of becoming the headline. How has the experience been for you right now? Do you feel safe? Do you think you're going to have to pull the plug? Is it exaggerated? Is it how is it for you?
Just from my personal experience,
Right.
um, we're very, very safe. We take all the precautions you could take. I've been vaccinated 3 times, not twice, but 3 times
Okay.
because, I have other conditions, underlying conditions that allowed me to take an extra vaccine. The rest of my guys are all vaccinated, and that came down to saying, this is what you need to do to be in the band and be on the road with us. Everybody wears their mask. Everybody does what they're supposed to do. We don't have meet and greets. It's challenging, but I think it's important that people realize this is a serious virus. It's not a joke. It's not a man-made conspiracy. It's not something the government's trying to pull over our eyes or something, and the vaccine's not something to squirt into us so they can track us. I
Right.
mean, hell, they got our cell phones. They could do that already. So I mean, it's a serious thing, and I don't see it going anywhere quickly because there's too many people that won't get the vaccination, and that's up to them. I mean, granted, it's whatever you want to put in your own body is up to you, but I'm very strong proponent of it, and I think that I think that it's going to be later than sooner that this is all going to get better on track because I think it's going to come back again in a huge wave when the cold flu season comes back. I think you're going to see a lot more cases, and I think they're going to shut down rock and roll again.
Yeah, I've spoken to a few people that are in the promotions field, and I'll leave it at that. But their sense is that by October it gets shut down tight, and I'm kind of curious how that's going to work when we start talking about professional sports with the hockey and the basketball, and I think the schools are going to fuel it. I think having 30 kids stuck in a classroom with no mask for most places is going to be a clusterfuck. I mean,
Sure, and I think it's important too
but
because the kids aren't getting a great education homeschooling. They're just
no,
not.
yeah,
You're not the same as getting taught by a teacher. Let's face it, your mom and dad aren't going to take the time as a teacher would take, 8 hours a day, whatever it is, the curriculum, to sit there and teach these kids. They're going to have a couple hours at home and here, do your homework. And that's going to be about it. I mean, I'm judging just by my own family, my nieces and to see how they're reacting towards it. And they're
yeah,
all getting dumbed down, you know?
yeah, and they're losing the social interaction. But let's focus on this album now, Alan. When the band first put out an album in '98, the first tribute, were you involved in that? Was that your decision?
No, absolutely not. And before we move into
Yeah.
Jack's creativity, and he's got more than a record going on. He's working on a book, and there's a movie coming out. But before we get into that,
Okay.
I just wanted to quickly mention that a week ago, Jack and I lost a good friend of ours. It wasn't COVID, but it's a mortality, and I think both Jack and I are still hurting from his passing. And people should just be a little bit more careful and considerate when they go out there. Wear a mask. It's not to stop you breathing in other people's stuff. It's to stop people breathing their shit on other people. It's a consideration. You know, just be considerate. Life is not eternal, and people pass and go, and it hurts when they do. So just be cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. And up here in Canada, it's been a bit different. It's not really the same debate. We're not really having that kind of discussion. Folks seem to be just going about it that way. But anyway.
Anyway, as far as Led Zeppelin goes, I'm a bit of a minimalist.
Right.
And I can say this, but I think Jack more than made the point about Led Zeppelin on February the 2nd, 1988, when he was filmed doing a rather exceptional version of Since I've Been Loving You. And then later on, with Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You on MTV. I mean, for me, that is case closed, job done. Don't ever have to sing another Zeppelin song. But Jack likes his Zeppelin.
He does, and it's funny because the only time I got to see the Great White Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You on MTV Unplugged was on a giant laser disc, because I had a laser disc machine, and we didn't get to see MTV Unplugged Great White up in Canada. Never did. Still has never shown up here. So I got this laser disc, and I went, oh my God, look at that. They're doing this. And I looked for years to try to find that on a CD. Never could find it. So it's sort of the one song I never got to own, that one performance.
Well, we did put it on a CD, and
eventually,
yeah, and this will probably screw with you, but I'll tell you, the better performance was without an audience, just doing sound check.
Sound check performance, yeah, the sound check, yep.
The sound check was stunning. I mean, the performance itself with the audience was great, but the one before that was, the whole room stopped. Everybody stopped what they were doing. The air stopped moving, and every eye was on the band going, oh my fucking God, I don't fucking believe this. It was stunning, absolutely stunning. But, the second best one was pretty fucking good too.
Let me ask you about that MTV performance, because you and I have spoken about it before, Alan. So let me ask you about that, Jack. What was that a fun experience, the whole MTV Unplugged, or was it a bit of a hard thing to put together? Did they treat you the way they were supposed to treat you? What do you remember of that MTV Unplugged?
I remember it was a really great experience. I remember doing the songs and the audience being there, and just being in the center of this circular room or semicircular, and it was amazing to have the audience that close, and they could smell you. I remember the one thing, though, being backstage where me and Kendall were back there with a little cassette player, and we're going over the parts, going, okay, don't forget this part, and don't forget that part there. When I sing this part, then that part happens, and remember, don't forget this part. And when we were just freaking out because we weren't sure about all the little subtleties of it, and so we're going back and forth, right? Okay, well then you remember this part, and by the time we got out there, I thought for sure we were gonna fuck it up. I go,
what you have to remember, Mitch, is that this was something that was not prepared weeks in advance.
Right.
The phone call from Kennelly at MTV, will you do this, was just days before we did it. And the decision to do the Zeppelin song, to the best of my recollection and knowledge, was taken by Jack and myself as we were driving over in my Jaguar, playing the track in the car. So it was rug jam it fast and then go out and do the sound check. So this is not a situation for tappers. This was a situation that either you were big boys and could pull it off, were real players and could pull it off, or you weren't. And that therein, we proved something to the people who put Unplugged together, that yeah, fuckers, this band in particular can fucking play.
Yeah, you could. And
yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Alan. That was absolutely right about that. That's how that came about. I remember that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was anyway, it's something that we still need to see, and hopefully we'll get a I don't know, a release of it at some point so the Canadians can see it. Talk to me about this Led Zeppelin II. Um, what was the point, or what was the decision in revisiting this and doing a second sort of tribute to the band? Was it because of the whole COVID situation? It was hard to get together and write new songs. Was it just, I love this band and I'll do 10 of these if I can. Talk to me about sort of the motivation to say, all right, let's get Robbie, let's get Dan and Dickie and Michael, and let's go do this.
Well, a lot of it was just because I wanted to do it. I mean, I had the time, we had the opportunity. As Alan says, I totally live and breathe Zeppelin. I mean, that has always been my favorite band. They always will be, with Aerosmith being right behind them.
Right.
But I mean, I love singing Plant. I love that I can sound reasonably close to him, and that's the whole point of doing it. You know what I mean? If I was just some other singer that couldn't sound like him, I wouldn't even bother. The point is just doing that and trying to do it as close as you can. To me, that's the tribute. I wanted to use a handful of songs that were different. Yeah, we did a couple that we had already done before, but I figured we were live in the studio and we wanted to do that a little differently than we did the live version. And some of them stand up to the live version, and some of them don't. I'll admit that. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things. You can't always hit a home run. But I'm still proud of the record, and I'm still glad we did it, and I'd do it again. Hell, I may do it again. I don't know.
By the way, a couple of things. I'm proud of the record too, because not only do you thank Eddie Trunk, the guy who has flown the flag of rock and roll for 35 years, you thank Alan Niven, and you thank me. So I'm very proud of that. It's in the booklet. I love that. Before we get on to the question on Led Zeppelin, you mentioned Aerosmith. I'm going to ask you this. Maybe Alan, I can get a reaction from you. They just announced a deal today, this morning, with Universal Music. They are going to reissue their entire catalog from the very first one under UMG. So what do you think of that, having Aerosmith hand over their catalog to UMG from the very first to now? It's kind of stunning.
Well, no, it's interesting because I wonder what the thinking was about copyrights. But it's like any decision, Mitch. When you're trying to evaluate why somebody's done something, follow the money.
Yep.
Follow the money. Follow the money.
Follow the money and see what's going on. And for me,
they had that famous deal with Sony Music for $30 million. They were on CBS Columbia from '73 on, and next year they're all Universal.
Well, if it were me, and you know me, I'm old and I'm really growing into being a grade A curmudgeon. My attitude would be, don't bother with the Geffen Candy ass records. Just put out the first records up to Rocks. I mean, those are the ones that excited me when I was a nipper.
Yep, deluxe editions. But all right, Jack, let me ask you about Led Zeppelin, because you love the band, and I am going to freely admit that I just don't get the band. I listen to the music, and it irritates me. I mean, and I don't know why. I don't want it to. I'm not trying to be hateful. But what is it about them that speaks to you? Because that's ultimately the whole thing about music. It's how it speaks to you. Great White speaks to me, and Tesla speaks to me, and Aerosmith speaks to me. Zeppelin didn't. What was it about Zeppelin where you just went, that's my band?
It was Plant's voice and Page's guitar playing, and John Paul's, creative.
And all those great Spirit covers.
Yeah. I mean, they were just they spoke to my soul. I mean, for whatever reason that you like a band. I mean, it's just the Plant's voice was first and foremost for me. I mean, the guy could sing the phone book. You know, I mean, he was fantastic. Jimmy Page on guitar, albeit a little sloppy at times, but you know, he was a great producer as well. I mean, the guy could, you know, he could just
Hey,
make.
well, let's differentiate there, Jack.
Yeah.
It makes me smile because I went to 3 Led Zeppelin shows when I was a kid, and I left midway through the set each time. Little sloppy is being generous. Live, they were a disaster at times.
Really? How come?
But on the other hand, Jimmy Page was a session player, and the studio recordings are magnificent. And if you don't get Zeppelin, Mitch, then all I'd say is lock yourself in a room with one album. Because if Zeppelin only ever recorded one album, they fucking nailed it with the first release. And that album is just magnificent. You put that on today, it sounds as big, as powerful, as beautiful, as wonderful as it did when I first heard it back in what, 1969?
Wow.
Yeah.
I was around then, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah.
No, but and again, we mentioned voice, and I think I like a cleaner, more melodic voice because I really love what Joe Elliott does. I really love what John Bon Jovi does. I love what Stephen Pearcy does. I love what you do, Jack. There was just something about it. But and here, you know, you hear Coverdale Page, and I get that. I just don't get Robert Plant, but you know that's that's
Well,
what.
Mitch, you don't have many black blues players up in Canada, do you?
So,
What was that, Jack?
Sorry, Jack.
so not everybody gets the Beatles, you know what I mean? So you can't really say what's right or wrong with it.
Jackie, it's not that. It's just Canada's a little short on black blues players.
Hey, listen, we gave the world Honeymoon Suite and Bryan Adams. What more do you want from us? Come on.
Don't forget the Killer Dwarves. That's a great band too.
The Killer Dwarves and Shania Twain. We gave the world Shania Twain. We can't deny that. No, but
No, I think Mutt Lange gave the world Shania Twain.
yeah, and Def Leppard. Boy, he's currently working with Bryan Adams, by the way. That is my most anticipated record. But anyway, no, and I'm not trying to badmouth Led Zeppelin, by the way. I'm just saying that it doesn't appeal to me. I'm glad
No,
it appeals.
and that's justified. You know, what I mean, like I said, everybody's got their own opinion.
Yeah.
About how wrong they are.
Hey, listen, come on. We all have our opinions. Let me just ask you then about the voice. How important is a voice in a band? Because when I look at the bands that I like, I'm attracted to the voice. When I hear Rat with another singer like they did, it's not Rat. When I hear the Great White songs with not Jack's voice, it's not Great White. And I don't want to get into a whole debate about whoever. But there's the voice is associated to the music, and for me, I can't pull that apart. So
you're asking the wrong person, Mitch.
But he's the voice.
Oh yeah, I know. So don't put him on the spot there.
But I'm just talking about for him. He says that Robert Plant was the voice, and that's what attracted him to him. So how important is it to have the right voice for a band?
Well, it's all about content. If you don't have a great song,
right,
you have musical wallpaper. And to have a great song delivered, you have to have somebody who has the right intelligence and spirit to deliver the content, because that's where we connect. We connect on a rhythm, we connect on a riff.
Right.
But if you're going to absorb and take in the whole song, your relationship is going to be primarily with the voice. So you need somebody who can deliver content that touches you. And that is why voices are critical. And that was the first thing that appealed to me about Dante Fox, was that's a voice.
Yeah, and listen, I've heard a lot of cover bands do Guns N' Roses songs, and it's the same song. It's Welcome to the Jungle, it's Sweet Child, but it's not that voice. And you just go, sorry, you're a great cover band, but it doesn't fly. But for you, Jack, in terms of other bands and Led Zeppelin, was that what attracted you to these bands? Was the voice? Like when you heard Led Zeppelin, when you heard, I don't know, Cream or the Beatles, did you go, ooh, I like the voice?
You know, more often than not, yeah, a lot of times it was just a song, you know. I mean, I can't say Cream, my love for the vocals, but I mean, I thought Jack Bruce was good for what he did. His lyrics are a bit esoteric for me, but I mean, it was what it was at the time, and I could respect that. But yeah, it's always been about the voice, I mean, and going back to what you were saying earlier, yeah, I agree with you. A band, and not just because I'm the singer, but because it's just how my ear works.
Right.
If I hear a band and with the original singer, and I get used to that singer, and I love that singer, and then if I hear somebody else singing it, it's not the same. Even if the singer was to do a better job, I mean, at it. I say, well, yeah, he sings that better than the original guy. It's still, I would go with the original guy just because it sounds like the song that I learned to love.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
Really?
And I'll tell you why I'm going to disagree with you.
Go ahead.
And I think it draws focus to the elemental aspect of a particular voice. Is that in my experience, I have found that I have been able to give a song to somebody and say, sing that, and they've sung it better than the original and with more conviction than the original, and have been a better gateway to the content of the song through their voice.
Right.
It's the singer, darling.
It is. And I agree that we do fall in love with the original version. The one guy for me that gets away with it is Kelly Hansen in Foreigner. When you hear Kelly sing, you just go, yeah, okay, I love Lou, but that's pretty damn good. You're spot on there. Alan at the front mentioned that you had a book and a movie and some other stuff coming out. Talk to me about that. What's the book? Is it Jack's taco recipes, or is it a biography? What are we talking about?
Yeah, no, it's not taco recipes, that's for sure.
That's too bad.
It's more about life lessons, and I don't know. It's just my story of my life, things I've been through, and things other people have been through with me. I mean, I have a lot of people that have, given their opinions for this book, Alan being one of them. A lot of stories. That a lot of times, for example, I just couldn't remember, so I had them chime in instead. It's going to be an experience. I mean, really, it's going to take you down a musical journey. I think that some people are going to like to go, and some people are going to go, "Why the hell did I go down this? It's pretty scary,
Right. Writing it yourself, or a ghostwriter, or a bit of both?
I have a very, very, very smart ghostwriter. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady, and she's done an amazing job so far. And I can't wait to read what she's written. I mean, I've read some of it, and she's really speaks
in your voice.
Yeah, she really speaks in my voice well, and I don't feel like I'm reading somebody else's thoughts. I feel like I'm reading my own, which is the point. It's written more eloquently than I could speak it, put it that way.
Harold, I'll ask you this. When you look back on your life from the bands and the legal and the this and the that and the scene, do you sit here today and say, holy, how did I survive this? This is crazy. Like, are you amazed?
Oh, I'm totally amazed. I'm completely amazed that I ever got through this whole thing. I'm relatively unscathed, considering how scathed I am.
Yeah.
It's been a complete a mind scramble to me that I even pulled this off, and I'm still here at 60 years old, still singing, to some degree, and doing it okay,
I agree.
It's amazing. I can sit here and talk to my friend Alan, after all these years and all the things that we've been through,
Yeah. And let's be honest, there was a time where you weren't talking to him, and I think you both
Absolutely
regretted
right.
that, right?
Absolutely right. And that it took a lot, for us to get back as friends again. But I think it was actually good for the relationship. I mean, I have a better relationship now I do with him than I ever had before. It's a lot more honest,
Amen. And the comment that I would make is that I've known a lot of people in my life, but I would say that Jack has thoroughly lived a life. And what I find beautiful and reassuring and affirming is at the end of the day, he's learned lessons from it and is probably the best version of Jack that I've known in 30 years. He's the best person Best version of Jack I've known in 30 years, far and away. And I'm delighted. I'm so pleased about that.
And I think what's also nice about it all is that after everything is said and done, there is a real friendship there. It's not, oh, he's my manager, I need to be nice to him, or he's my artist, I need to pat him on the back, or it's, I'm Alan, I'm Jack, we like each other, and there's nothing else. And that's great. That is just...
Yeah.
Well, there is
That
something
is
else. There's
true.
a lot of extraordinary shared experience.
True. But now it's from a perspective of there's nothing, there's no other agenda behind the experience other than I like this guy. And that's
true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool. We have this Led Zeppelin album, let's see, it's called Great Zeppelin II, a tribute to Led Zeppelin, available now. Where do we go from here in terms of new music? Is new music something that still interests you? Is it still worth investing time and money in writing songs and demoing, and or is it just like, nah, you know what? I'm just gonna go play rock me. I'm just gonna go play the hits, throw in a few Zepp covers, we're good to go.
No, you know what? Actually, no. The writing new music still definitely interests me. We're about halfway through with the new album. I just want to make the, I mean, He Saw It Coming to me was a really, really solid record. And I wanted to make sure this next one is, at least from my perspective, is a better album. Right. And that I'm finding hard to do. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, is this song better than that song? Well, I don't know. Is at least as good? I don't know. You know, you always want to do better than your last effort. Right. You know, and this one I'm finding hard to do that. You know, with He Saw It Coming. So, you know, we're still plugging away, and we just want to do the best album we can. I still think it's not quite there yet. So I'm gonna wait, and in the meantime, I'm gonna, you know, keep doing stuff that I want to do. I mean, there's a lot of songs I want to sing that not particularly the songs that I wrote, just songs that, you know, that I want to sing. And, you know, before I die, I'm going to sing them. You know?
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to hear that. Do you still have a deal in place with Frontier Records?
No, actually, well, I shouldn't say no. I've got a deal with Cleopatra, and then I have a deal with Frontiers also. I'm doing a deal with Tracy Guns and Frontiers, where they're writing the songs and me and Tracy are performing them, which is rather interesting because there's songs that I'm kind of going like, yeah, okay. You know, I'm not sure if I could really get on board with these or not. But so I'm finding that to be an interesting prospect. But, you know, with Cleopatra, we're getting ready to do the new album. So that's, like I said, that's about halfway done. And we'll see what happens. But, you know, it's going to be interesting what happens in the next couple of years. That's for sure.
That's for sure. And again, I don't want to disparage Frontiers, but I find it funny when they have guys like yourself or Jack Blades and they go, we're going to write the songs for you. Like, okay, but but yeah, most people would hire Jack and you know, Jack Blades and Jack Russell to write songs for them, not the other way around. It's kind of weird, but hey.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, you sit back and you go, you're gonna offer me what? Really? For just to do that? Oh wow. That'd be stupid if I didn't do that.
Yeah, well, they do throw out the money, but sometimes you just wonder, you're like, why do you have the staff writer from Milan writing songs for me? He's like, okay.
Yeah,
they want the publishing.
Strange.
Yeah, I guess they want the publishing and stuff, but it's anyway, it's whatever. It's some of those albums that they put out are great, and other ones you just go, oof, okay. You know, what are you gonna do? Alan, do you see yourself submitting a song or two to Jack and saying, hey?
I don't think so. I mean, Jack can write really well for himself these days. And I'll be blunt, you know me. I don't beat about the bush. If I were going to work with Jack, I would bring my own guitar player.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Where's Tony Montana on the tribute record? Was it a COVID situation or is it just time for a change and you brought Dan in?
No, you know what it was? It was Tony's not that adept at keyboards. and Michael Oliveri is. So that was the only reason, because originally these were supposed to be live recordings, and we just couldn't get it together on the road to do the live stuff. It just didn't come together. Equipment wise, it was just, it turned into too big of a hassle. We weren't playing, one place where you had, we didn't have any shows in LA where we could actually, it would have been easy to record them. Like show in Denver and showing, Scottsdale, or showing, just that we were playing all over the place. So it just didn't work out.
Gotcha. Now, Zoom is telling me I have 4 minutes left, so I'm going to just ask you this. Alan has always said that Stage is the best live Great White Album. Do you agree? And if so, what makes it so darn good?
I think it's for me, it's a great record. I think the song choices on are great. The performance is spot on. The band had one of those not rare nights, but I mean, one of those
just one of those nights.
Iconic nights, I mean, where the band was just playing, all the nails were pounded on the head, I mean, and it was just a great performance. And I agree, sonically, it's amazing. Alan put together a great record.
Anaheim was a moment. If I recall, it was at the end of a tour. It was back in California. It was just, all the energy was in the right direction. And Anaheim is absolutely a moment. And I kind of thought back in the day that we would just use Anaheim recordings. But then we did this House of Blues performance. And believe it or not, the House of Blues were only just opened at that point. And we were actually the first band to go in there and play blues material, our own original blues material along with rock and roll. And that turned out to be a moment too. So that's why it's so special to me. It's just every performance on there hits.
And it's for the most part the live album. There's no pro tooling studio magic. You got what you got because the band was that good those nights.
It was extraordinary because when Michael and I got to the mixes, we did no fixes. Wow. We mixed exactly what was done on the night.
That is remarkable. And on that, I will have to shut down because I'm told I have a minute and a half to go. But Jack Russell's Great White, great Zeppelin II, a tribute to Led Zeppelin, available now. And as we say here in Montreal, merci beaucoup. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, thank you, my friend. Good to see you, Alan.
Good to see you too.
And it was good to see me. No? Hello?
Yeah, good to see you as well.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll do this again. Cheers.
Sounds good. All right.
Cheers.
Bye, all. Bye.
Cheers.